Hello. Oh, yeah. Thanks for coming. Maybe I do a promotion because people. How many people? 22? I connecting. What happened? Open. Not the Teams. Zoom was there. Zoom is. Zoom is okay. Anything. Oh, we need to wait. Okay. So I to all the people online and physical people present. Yeah, so I'm Quentin. With me, that they can see the screen. Share. So, maybe we should share screen. Yeah, they can see the PowerPoint. Can they? No, right? We share the PowerPoint. Just do it. Yeah. Okay, so hi everybody. Uh, we have some technical issues, but we'll just don't know whether. Yeah. So to people joining us online, we have actually a series of workshops coming up this week. It will be virtual as well and hybrid and in this SI account. So for those taking part in the hackathon, if you need to use the SI lounge to have some small discussions before the event, feel free to contact. On Wednesday, we have an event. On Thursday, there's another event. I will be sharing it. And then on next Monday is the second group meetup where there's also another event and the sharing before the group meetup. So do take note of the dates, and if you have friends who are interested, do share the link because it's a free event. Anyone is welcome to join. Yeah, thank you. I can present from there. Yeah, you can present from there. Slides. The internet just keeps flipping. What's for? Yeah, now it's yeah, just get card in between and we'll see.
All right. Hello. 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 Yeah, now it's okay.
You, turn off your speaker here.
Okay. Okay, it's already turned off. Okay. So. So call that are joining virtually. Please confirm that you can hear me. Are you able to hear me? Just give me a thumbs up or a chat message would be great. All right. Hello. You can, right? Okay. All right. Then we'll make it start. If anybody cannot hear, please do alert us to the chat. Yeah. Okay. So welcome and good evening. So myself, Sagar, I'm an architect and I work as a technical solutions lead at Autodesk Singapore, handling the Singapore and Malaysia markets. And together with me, we have Ken So, he's the senior manager for industry strategy for the AEC industry. And both of us, we will be facilitating today's session. Of course, most of it will be covered as a presentation and some of our API discussions, generators, dynamic extensions, dynamic extensions, and so on. And then at the end, for 30 to 45 minutes, we will give everybody a chance to sort of formulate their own ideas or problem statements, which they can use the technologies to solve. Yeah? So the problem solving, or let's say the problem definitions would happen at that stage. Meanwhile, if you still have any questions, write them down. We can then open the discussion for. So, Autodesk Forma was released in May, yeah, last year, 2023. Officially, it was released in May. Before this, Autodesk Forma was known as Space Maker. It was independent previously from Autodesk. It was a Nordic company based in Oslo, and Autodesk acquired Forma. It's a generative AI platform, and it's a fully web-based platform. Yeah? So the first offering of Forma itself, we'll be running through it, and what are the particular cloud-based features that Forma offers to you. Yeah? So how many of you are already sort of AEC collection users over here? Or let's say on the, we have a few here. I think most of you would be using the AEC. By the way, Forma is part of the AEC collection, so it doesn't need you to pay anything above that. It can be used by all the AEC collection users. Okay. And for students and research purposes, Forma is also available for educational licenses for any of the institutes. Right. So in general, this is just a graph that shows that why why it is important that at an early stage of design, we sort of bring more value and spend more time doing the analysis as well as doing a lot of iterations and automations. That's to save your cost at a later stage, right? Let's say a simple example could be if your building is correctly oriented for better wind flow, you will use less amount of HVAC load in your building. it's just a simple example, right? Whereas if you orient your building too much onto the sun side and you place glass over there, you're going to have more heat load within the building. So such decisions can be taken early in the design stage, and they will save you a lot of cost for the owner operator and the contractor. Right. So the first Forma offering, of course, allows users to use something like, right? So it's more like a web-based product where you can start building your website and something like that. It's just an example of that. But it enables architectural design and planning through automation and analysis. And there are certain cloud native capabilities that we will run through today. So these are specifically the 5 key use cases within Forma. Number one is contextual modeling and handling of contextual data. Second is conceptual design, which is 3D modeling through, let's say, simple extrude features or let's say push-pull features. But we're looking more towards the next level of 3D modeling, which is automation. Automation as in the way today you might be using Grasshopper or you might be using Dynamo. This is a no-code environment, basically, not at all, right? So let's say in Rhino, in Grasshopper or Dynamo, using nodes to define certain computations. Over here, you don't need the nodes. It's just values that will drive the entire design flow. Numeric entries. So it's actually based upon a LLM kind of, but a very kind of numeric based LLM. We have not yet trained it in out of the box to let's say work like speech functions and ChatGPT and so on. However, the code allows you to integrate large language models within Forma. Okay. So, of course, automation, analysis, and interoperability is a no-brainer because Forma syncs directly with the likes of Revit straight away, and it also imports from Rhino directly. Yep. And we are building more capabilities so that we can work with apps like TestFit, also with Veris AI or Midjourney. They're all on the way to sort of host their extensions on top of them. So these are some of the analysis capabilities today in Forma, which is operational energy, microclimate, noise, natural light, wind, and sunlight. There are more to come, and there are some others which are already in beta stage. Okay. So what can Forma help you achieve, right? In simple terms, if you look at 3 key objectives or outcomes, first, it will accelerate your site planning and proposal making speed. Secondly, you will improve collaboration and communication because it's sort of unlimited data, unlimited users, and you can bring in many collaborators together to work on a project. Just like a common data environment where you invite people on the project and you're able to share information, you're able to share data. But over here, you're sharing designs. And thirdly, making better design decisions to make sure that your buildings are analyzed upfront, not like you face the challenges later while you're doing calculating the heat load and so on. Right. Now, we have a long-term vision for Forma. It is actually a multi-year journey. Forma will evolve over the next 3, 4, 5 years, and we will see this getting evolving as a AECO platform, right, which is an eco-industry platform, architecture, engineering, construction, and also operations. Now, the reason it is cloud-based is because of the heavy algorithms or handling big data models. Large models on desktop-based softwares take a lot of time to be processed, especially when you want to run more than 100. Then it's going to require cloud computing capabilities. And only through, for us to work with Amazon Web Services, so Forma is actually ported on top of AWS. So it's entirely secure in terms of all the certifications. We have achieved all the ISO related certifications for cloud security. So let's look at the workflows one by one. Okay. I would possibly just go into the software itself, which I like to do straight away. I'm just hoping that the internet over here allows me to do that. I'm on my hotspot, so we should be okay. So initially, of course, when you sort of bring in a project, uh, you can start by just saying, so this is basically how it looks like. And so you have various hubs. So I'm actually part of all these teams, MDC, A49, and so on. But you can create your own hub and you can start, you can invite members, right? You can have your hub settings. Multiple people can work with you, same project, and you can start creating new projects. So when you start creating new project, you actually start with your latitude, longitude. So let's say I'll go with unmotivated, right? Somewhere around. So I'm able to find that place. Then I can zoom more, find that location. If this is your office internet, if it's stable base and the speed is more than 100 Mbps, it's going to work super smooth. Yeah. So for now, just bear with me if it's a bit laggy. Let's say we choose for this particular site, and we can go with up to 3.5 kilometers square. I'm just going to confirm this mapping. It's going to now take the data from OpenStreetMap and try accessing ArcGIS and some other GIS platforms that we integrate with, and it will then give you that particular. You just went through running it on hotspot. Okay, still works. 10, 15 seconds. So you do have options to pick different data. So let's say, for example, OpenStreetMap with buildings, OpenStreetMap without buildings, getting a flat terrain, or Astro GDA. As we speak, there are more data integrations we are working with. We're also working with SLA so that we can bring in Singapore data. But moreover, we are working with Esri, which has the world's data, and we will bring in more geolocated data for your team. Okay? I will, for now, just go with the flat terrain, and then we can go with and just order the data. So that's where you really start your journey, the design journey. However, you can also bring in DXF files, you can bring in IFCs and BGs. Yeah? So it's ordered successfully. And we can close this. So there we go. That's my site limit. Okay. And then of course, I can always start by simply creating my site limit, or we can begin by importing any models. Let's say if you have existing OBJ, IFC, or DXF models, you can bring those in. Yeah. So far, it accepts OBJ, IFC, DXF, but through the API extensions, you're able to bring in other file formats as well, like GeoJSON or City GML. It also accepts JPEG and PNG. So to start with, I can always begin with the site limit, and you can work in 2D for that, just to draft out your site. So I'm just going to randomly create a site here. Site you could also bring in as a BWG. If you have an AutoCAD drawing, it's superimpose this. So I can bring it a DXF. And then, of course, you can divide it into zones, you can offset it, you can split it into parts. Like I can just split this site into two parts, and then each one of the site areas. You can see on the right hand side, it will already start computing. You don't have to initiate anything. It automatically captures the data. Yeah, the site data is straight away calculated. You can start by defining area metrics. For example, you can create an area metric. The area metric just be as simple as these polygons. My area metric, for example, you can give it formulas for GFA, GRA, and net buildable areas. And you can look at residential FSI floor space index to be 1.2, the GFA, and commercial, let's say 2. And we can specify, or we can add more functions. And I can create my metric. Once I create my metric, I would have that specific metric with various GFAs and GI constitution right away. Okay? Then to begin with, I can always initiate the generative AI, and you can start by simply selecting the site, and Forma will automatically generate options for you. This is also a code that you can access. Okay? Now here on the right hand side, I have specific options. Like I can, let's say, understand the division width. Right? Let's say I want to change the width to 20 meters. Okay, it will automatically immediately change your values. There you go. So you try giving the more based on it's gonna pop up that face zone, right? It's gonna add more to your. So here you're not coding or you're just typing values and it will automatically give you options. Now, good thing is that you can look at different layout types like links, like them, no tower blocks, and I can only look at city blocks and it will give you some options. And it's going to work out those options. It's going to allow you to look at the 20 or 60 different options that it has created to begin with. Okay? So you can actually start asking more data out of it through our API extensions. But this is where your design is. Okay? So that's one way. Once you're done with the option, enter, and I'm in there. My buildings are already populated. You can already see here the total GFA that's been consumed, the GIA that's been consumed, right? The NIA that's been consumed. All of the data will be populated. And the total site area is always there. And I can also begin by just simply sketching, right? Or creating a building pad through automations. I can do a basic building, and I could actually choose the entire site to be building. And let's say the site that you see that's popping up like that, right? If I want to like create a basement here, okay? So I'm gonna just go to my navigator and terrain, and you can create a building pad so that you can start with your building design on the pads. Just being mindful of the internet connectivity, but it's bearable. Okay, so we can begin by simply tracing an existing shape and allowing it to fill in the ground or to go recessed within the ground. Right? So I can go negative. For example, I can go minus 20 meters, basement, straight, boom, right inside. So I should be able to work with minus 8 meters. What kind of slope I would want? If I want sloping side, I could do that also. So all these are simple features but embedded within Forma. Okay? And once done, you can always move back. Good. All right. So we have this site. Now we can start working towards maybe adding a complete basement over here. Then simply choosing this particular part and now only looking to do, let's say, for example, say 40. That's your base building. And on top of that base building, Now I could actually go inside and start editing the floor plans of any parking, for example, of the floor plan. And within the floor plan itself, I could start dividing this building, right? You can actually start drafting using the ruler scale. And you can see that it actually is now replicating my floor plan everywhere, which I actually don't want. I could only work on the top floor, like the 13th floor. Find the space as parking, and you can see that automatically it starts designing and it starts giving you the layout. It's quite big, but maybe these zones can assign this space as the corridor on the house or something. And this can also be a small parking area where you can define some different set of rules, right? So the set of rules for parking can be defined and you can add. So for example, in this case, for this parking, I'm only looking at two vehicles, right? Or electric scooters. Then I can have this parking done separately and this one done separately. So just an example. But you can add more, you can create, you can also delete floors. If you want to delete the 12th floor, the 11th. There's no real drafting involved here or neither 3D sketching, but you can also do that. Like you can actually start 3D sketching. So if I want to begin by creating a 3D sketch, I can actually leverage on that 3D sketching capability. I can show you some examples. However, some of these line buildings can also be directly created here, and you can start working towards some standard units and so on. So that's the building unit, and I can start working towards, let's say, adding the height, number of floors. Same thing like you did for the larger building, you can start working towards a smaller building. And probably change the function of this building, make it commercial or make it residential, and it will automatically update my GFA and GIA based upon it. So there is no manual entry as such. Everything happens automatically when you start giving it different functions. Right? Of course, we can work with simple volumes, generic volumes as well. Right? The simple boxes. Right? I'll just draw out some kind of example there. Okay? And then this max, you can actually edit in the sketch mode. So in the sketch mode, it will allow you to do more. Edit sketch. And the edit sketch will really work something like if today you use SketchUp or maybe in the past you might have used Forma. Nerves modeling is something which it doesn't do today. So you would probably have to use Grasshopper or Dynamo to bridge that gap. Because we have direct extensions, you should be able to do it. We'll look at it. So I won't go into the editing functions because probably will take more time, but I'll show you some examples of some different forms that we can do. So back. So that project has been saved. Now if somebody else, if you want to pass it on to someone, you can invite project members so that they can start contributing. So now I can add project members and invite somebody who is a collaborator. So I can just type in here the email. It could be a collaborator or an admin. You can give access and you can send the email. Yeah, if you guys have your laptops, actually, I would encourage you to just try. There are trials. And now I'm going back to a project which I've done before. But remember one thing, right? The approach of Forma is different than our traditional sketching and 3D modeling tools. Okay? Because we start with data in mind, with outcomes in mind, and we don't really start with lines and let's say squares and rectangles and so on. We actually begin with data in mind and with some outcomes in mind. However, sketching capability is there, but I would encourage you guys to really start thinking through data modeling or through some analysis that you'd like to try. Then form will automatically follow the function. But you first determine what function you will do. So I'm going to go to the existing example. I have multiple proposals in just one project, and you can see how many collaborators I have. I have Tablan, Vivian, and Tanya, and so on, John, as my collaborators. So multiple people can work on same models, different proposals. So I have roughly 5 proposals here, proposal 1, proposal 2, proposal 3, and the site data is consistent across all proposals. There is no real copy pasting or anything here. Everybody is using the single source of truth, the site. It won't automatically edit itself, right? And you can use the same proposal anywhere. So let's say if I go to the final proposal, if somebody is working on proposal 4, I'm working on the final proposal, but there are people working on different proposals on the same project. So that's my final proposal. And there are some existing buildings here as well. So just for form itself, you can see that you can create buildings like these, right? You can also create curves, but this is just an example of a edited sketch 3D mode, right? And I can edit that in 3D sketch as well straight away. Okay? I could also create forms like these, tapering forms. So there's really no limit in terms of what forms you can create, except NURBS modeling. Yeah. Remember, degree 3 curves will not be modeling. You would have to use dynamic grasshopper to do really for double curved surfaces and so on. Single curved surfaces, yes, you can do it with form. Single curves, it works. Okay. So let's go in there. And these kind of things, right, they're just editable on the spot. Say, for example, I'll just zoom in. You'll see that all these points are editable and it impacts your entire flow. So it gives you those editing capabilities and you should be able to work with different building geometries. Okay. Right. And then individually, you can also change the parameters. Same way, I've created different floor plans for this particular building, and in the plan, edited this geometry as well. Let's look at the analysis capability. So those were the modeling capabilities. You can also add roads. Okay? The important thing about adding roads is it will help you for your analysis, which means that okay, let's look at this road. So this particular road, there is data that I would use for analysis. Number one is the speed of the road, the limit, right? Is it 100 kilometers per hour or is it 60 or so? The average daily 10,000 up to you. You can get the details from your nearest traffic station or any. If it's available online, you can get the data from there and key the distribution of your traffic 84%, evening 10%, night is 6%. Heavy traffic is 50% of the time. If it's a busy road in the city, you can say that it's 50% of the time. And that will be helpful for the noise analysis. Now, let's go to analysis. So first, of course, area metrics. I can quickly run through area metrics, which is how much area is consumed by hotels, how much area is consumed by commercial, residential, all of the area distribution will be. And you can see that immediately you can go one by one and you can check on it. Now let's say I convert a particular building, you can see that the educational area is about 12,000 meters square. But what I'll do is I'll take this building function to education as well. So immediately my education area should pop up. Right? It should increase. Overall, the education level. So now it's 17,000 meters. So instantly the data is just connected to each other. You remove the function, the number of square meters is gone. Even if it's a single floor, you can still change the function by floor. So one floor, I want to change the function and change that specific floor as a say school. You see that immediately only from that floor, I've changed the function and it will impact my overall area metrics. There's no calculation I'm doing of this. It's automatically getting picked up by the AI or the engine. Right, so that's area metrics. Now we look at sun hours. Let's go to historical analysis. Normally the analysis will take anywhere between 20 seconds to 2 minutes for sun hours. Yeah, you can run it, or you could. I'll just read the historical analysis. So January 16, I did sun hour analysis, and it's going to keep a record. The digital trail is maintained. So if you did an analysis 8 months ago, it's still there. Yeah. And once the analysis is done, you can actually start inspecting this. So let me just hide the controls. So here, I want to analyze the spaces which have less than 4 hours of sun. And because we are in Singapore, we are on the sunny side of things, so it's not going to be you're going to have more sun, right? So it's going to be more. Quality of the surfaces of your building has sun more than 5 hours. You see that, right? And here you can also look at the distribution. You can see that the average sun hours on the right, on the left hand side is 4, and it covers 30,000 meters square. 30,000 meters square is greater than or equal to 4 hours, and 4,769 meters square is less than 4 hours. So you can get this data instantly. There is no calculation I'm doing. It's automatically giving you the data, and I can change the time interval and so on, and you can synthesize this information the way that you would. And this applies for all the analysis. Yeah. This metrics, the analytics applies for all the analysis. Similar way you can lesson learning things. So it took like less than 20 seconds to regenerate based upon my time, right? So now you can see that my sun hours is probably grown a bit low. Then I can even inspect wall by wall. If I want to like go and inspect here, it will show me that this wall, this facade has 4.7 hours of sun. Yeah. And you can inspect, and just inspect all of the bills. So that's sun hours. Similar goes for daylight. Daylight is quite important because some of the functional spaces which are always habited by people, you want them to be lit by natural light. Right? So you can try and understand which are those spaces. So I can go to daylight potential. Just here, I'll get a percentage. Okay. So here you can see that the achievable daylight. So this is all in the dark zone, like 15% and so on. But there's very little, as you can see here, these buildings are very close to each other. So most of the spaces over here don't have enough daylight. You can instantly understand them, right? And if I want to inspect, let's say for this building, this patch is completely under the dark, I can inspect this and say only 9% of the time there is daylight that is entering this. So I can take those informed decisions on where, even if you're generating a particular design or a form, that will have an impact on the natural elements that we design. So we can change the form to enable more daylight in this case. Of course, this is good because it's inside. So it started capturing things like niches and so the data analytics and the representation is the same for all kinds of analysis, which always gives you a slide bar below and a bar graph on the so it's good. So now we can go to Mate. Wind simulation can take some time. It might take 20 minutes or so. So you can actually open two browsers. In one browser, you let the wind simulation run, and in another browser, I can just open multiple browsers. If your internet is great in the office, you open 5, 6 browsers, it doesn't matter. You can have multiple proposals open because it's web-based. Cloud computing, unlimited users, unlimited. Okay, effectively, anything above 100 Mbps would be good. If it's 50 or 20 Mbps, it's gonna be cranky. So I would advise not to. Anything above 100 Mbps. 1 Gbps, it'll fly, right? So it really depends upon your internet speed. So you can see the detailed analysis might take some time, but I'll just look at the historical analysis. We have done an analysis here. Gathering the information. It's loading the information. Yeah. Yeah. Functional colors. Yes, you can see. AI rendering. Yeah, we already have Veras AI extension in here. So you can use Veras or you can use Midjourney, but Midjourney right now is not on the platform. In future, you will see them coming in, but you can use Veras AI. Yeah.
Because simulation is still done on messing with this. But if you're using for presentations, then you use that API to create the textures. Yeah, because for simulation, the computer doesn't care about, doesn't process the texture.
So now what I have here is actually the pedestrian comfort. Yeah. So the wind drag or retardant effect or anything you call it is going to create pockets of city or the urban areas where you will see that there are standing zones where people can comfortably stand, but there are zones which are uncomfortable, which is the red zone, and zones where you have to walk in order to feel comfortable. So you can inspect those zones. Let's say this zone here. I wouldn't want to place a public space over here. I want to place it here so that people can comfortably stand. Right? So that analysis you can do, and you can understand that over here, standing dominating direction is north. Over here, you can see that it's walking dominating direction is also north. You can see that majority of the ground is actually in the strolling or the walking zone because of the prevailing wind conditions. However, there are some good pockets where you can start putting in some public spaces. So it will give you that kind of analysis. So if I want to filter further, I can say that, okay, I want to look at spaces which I can, these are your pockets within the urban precinct that can actually look at popping in some public spaces in it, or have a cycling track. That's around your. So that's fairly confident. Now, if I want to look at the directional data for the wind, let's say I want to look at south and stream height variations, right? And I want to make them visible. See that the wind simulation is directly accessible. So it will give you, if there are any vortex formations and so on, it will be able to simulate these conditions. If I change the wind direction, it will automatically change its CFD. Yeah. We use blue foam as the engine. Blue foam is popular. Many CFD softwares out there use blue foam as well. If more details are to be understood, you could look at our documentation. There is white papers that we have written on what goes behind this. So if you want to use those in your submission, you could do. Like RSP Architects in Singapore, they actually use the background data as part of one of the submissions. They did win the competition. They used the Forma to generate all this analysis in their final proposal. So again, you can work towards height variations, or you can only look by height, which means how to check 8 meters or something like that. Only at that particular level, I'm interested. So I can say I'm only interested at 20 meters. Then my CFD or the vectors are going to be active only on 20. So there's a lot of data drilling that you can do in there so that you can represent your wind much efficiently. Okay. Any questions around this? Yeah. You can extract images from it, but if you are looking at them to be 3D lines in space, for now, no.
Actually, what is more relevant is the report.
Yeah.
So that when you design, what we're trying to do here is once you understand how the wind flows through the area that you're planning, then you orientate your design in a way that it allows you to capture as much wind flow as possible. So with more wind flow coming through your building, like these your houses, right? You improve the thermal comfort. Yeah. So that's how what makes your design to be more optimal.
Question asked because the line is quite distinct from
Well, you can capture the image. You can do a 4K screen capture. You can save the camera position. And you can extract the PNG, but 3D geometry of the CFD not fun. This, no. You can extract the buildings as a Revit model or as an IFC model, but the lines, the CFD lines themselves, they are only for you to create a report.
so 38, that's not even possible.
We can check them, but I'm not really sure whether the embedded view API will, because it's an embedded view API, so anything that's embedded in the view, you should be able to. And that's the objective. If you think that's a use case for you, you can write it down for now. Then we can document all of these use cases.
So Forma is open platform. Yeah, API make available to you. So anything that you want that's outside of what you provide, you can develop.
Yeah, direction. Okay. Great objects both.
Oh yeah, so like do an editing in there, right? Then let's see if I can. The analysis is there, it will stay, but I can edit a bit. There with the speed of it. Yeah, this line here. As in create multiple windows. Ah, yeah, you can save that. Yes, so right now I'm just gonna create a pocket here, edit. Right? Let's edit this first. I'm just gonna do this. back again. So I'm going to create a bigger pocket and we hope that the wind lines can go to okay. Or like cutting through. You probably have to edit in 3D Sketch to do that. Within this, okay, there's a way. Hold on. We can edit the floor plan here. Let's go and add the pocket plan here to be able to create a whole. So that's this one. Okay. So I can potentially space and delete. Yeah, delete that. So I can create it, but you have to define it in the plan. Okay. Okay. So the void is. So now let's go back to analysis. Orders, release, iteration, not so. Now it's solved there. Hey, but no, wait. I have to redo the analysis. Sorry, because it's the old geometry that's getting captured, right? So I have to go back and rerun the analysis. So then I will give you another version. We might not be able to do it today because it's going to take time. I will keep it running. Maybe after 30 minutes we can do it. Okay. So let's go to another analysis, which is microclimate. Now, microclimate, there is no history for now. So just run the analysis. Well, on another window, we can look at another analysis. Here, let's look at operational carbon consumption. So it's ready, right? About a minute or so. Now we can look at the microclimate. So we just took this area. We should define the area in detail, but you will be able to see that whether this particular zone, what is the temperature there. So almost everything is above the 25 degrees anyway. So if change, you can see this zone. This is less than 30. No, everything is above 26. Then you can inspect here. So it's 31 degrees. And here it's 31 as well. However, in some other pockets outside, here it's about 36 degrees. So you can simulate the microclimate in any zone like that. So roughly 75% of the analyzed area is above, let's say 36 to 37 degrees. We have 5.5% in 32 to 50. It also captures the humidity and so on. After microclimate, can look at operational energy. So operational energy actually depends upon what materials you use, or then let's look at the criteria. Right? So if you see right now, if you look at the settings, the advanced settings are still in beta, but you can define, let's say if I define an uninsulated roof, it's going to change the amount of energy I'm going to need. So here, the range is that 132 kilowatts hour per meter square. Buildings which are running at anywhere between 164 to 196 kilowatts hour per meter square. So if I change it to uninsulated roof, it will immediately change the operational energy factor. So it's going beyond 200 already because the roof is uninsulated. If I change back to insulated roof or maybe insulated with wood or something, for now there are limited options, but in the future there will be more. Construction, I can choose maybe window construction. I can choose a triple glazing or double glazing, UV, MSCBT 14. The wall to window ratio I can increase. The climate zones I can change, go to hot and dry or hot and humid. And every change you make will impact the operational energy of it. So that's a very quick measure of how you can understand how much your building is going to cost to operate based upon the design plan. Noise analysis. So noise analysis is interesting. Let's look at this zone for noise analysis. Like I previously mentioned that if you have your road factors and the noise density in there, sorry, the traffic density, then it will give you the noise solution. So now I can see that 75% of the spaces are in a good noise zone, which is like less than 55 dB. You can see that these facades are impacted heavily by noise. Okay? So if you change the traffic conditions, this will also change. Okay? So I can see that 12% of the facade is having more than 65 dB, and 14% of the facade is anywhere between 55 to 65 dB. So whatever is acceptable to you as a designer, you can take a decision or propose a different kind of a facade treatment to be able to address to the noise. Like here at 65 dB, it's quite a high level, but as you go up, of course, it's going to go low, 58 dB. As you go higher, 56 dB. On the sides, it's 52 dB. So anything that you see green is beautiful for the ears. Okay? 35 dB is great, no sound. So you can analyze your sound. Okay? After sound, you should have the solar potential. Okay? A solar potential was added recently, like 2-3 months ago. If you look at solar energy potential, this allows you to look at the total energy that you can generate. So let's look at the historic analysis that we did. Number 9, just going to run that analysis. On the right hand side, if you look at the entire roof of this whole block, right, whatever buildings we have selected, is going to generate 98,670,487 kilowatts of energy. Okay? Total solar energy. Average solar energy per meter square is 1688 kilowatts. Now, if I increase the surface coverage or if I increase the panel efficiency, my amount of energy generated is going to go up. Let's say you're using some advanced photovoltaics that capture more sun. That by 20%. It's just blinking now 3 dots, and it should be able to update. Same way, you can also look at building surfaces. Right? So you can look at custom building surfaces. I'm taking the whole site. Everything is solar panel. Then how much energy we have. But or else I can just choose how much angle I want to look at, right? Maybe I want to just look at facades which are at a 45-degree, right? Nothing at 45 degrees, then have any facade. But this facade looks like it's like 75 or 80. Let's look at 75. Was this facade get captured? No, did not. What can I look at? 80? Yeah, it got it. There you go. So this facade is more than 75, it's at 80 degrees. Place solar panels. This particular surface, your average solar energy is going to be a certain number for this particular space. There, there you go. Okay. So this is going to generate roughly 666 kilowatts per meter square. So instantly you are able to understand, hey, the total solar energy is this much, hence I can save so much amount of carbon, can immediately run an analysis on it. Any questions on this one? Okay. So the analytics is same for everyone. The representation levels, the filtering is all the same for all analysis. Sorry, landscape replacement. Well, I need to understand that more specifically. How would you do it in a normal circumstances without? Depending on each area. Okay. So for my project in particular in my area, we need to have a 40% landscape placement on the roof. About throughout as in anywhere. Yeah. So if you cut a pocket here, you have to add it somewhere, right? Yeah. That's a good use case for right now. Just ask trees. I raised this question to the product team. Whether we can start adding scale.
I think right now we can only do the trees.
We can only do one. I can't really go in a place with landscape.
For the trees on the ground.
Yeah.
Yes, but yes. Not for the wall.
By the area of trees, let's say I define as here. The 2D is not always great. 2D. It means, so let's plan here, here, here. Okay. So that area, total one, you have the height of the tree, the distance between the tree. Let's say distance to 3 meters, you can use that, right? So all of that you can do. Right? And I think in the area metric, you should be able to get the vegetation area as well. So let's look at vegetation. Stable is still manual. Yeah. Right. It's still manual. I mean, of course, you have to define the surface where you want to place the trees, but it's gonna get considered in your market analysis. So it's going to reduce the temperature in that area. My humble request to our product team has been 6 months ago, added on the roof, possibly, because I'm a big fan of green coats, right? I'm a Kenyan fan, so.
Yeah. And that is the reason. That is the reason why the rest are being processed.
Exactly. Because everybody asks me, so I'm sure that.
It's because in the temperate countries, right? very few people will actually do presentation of stuff because of what's the productive, what's the productive. So this product originated from Oslo.
Of the product
So
team
they are-
sits in Oslo.
So for 9 months you use presentation, technically speaking.
But we do have the API team sits in Singapore, the API
See
team.
some of them.
Yeah. But they only help them in terms of the API. Decisions, feature goes in, actually the Oslo team. But we get a chance to, of course,
So
sure.
this area matrix is very interesting.
Yeah.
Can you show us if we have custom formulas that we want to put percentages based on whatever requirements? Can we add it? And how is the exporting for this data under CSV file?
So within the out of the box itself, you cannot add formulas. You can only define, let's say, the 1.2 area metrics. You should be able to, let's say, define this, right? For each use case, I can put in a GFA factor. That is what I can do. So let's say residential could be 4, commercial could be 2, okay? But you can update the metrics, and then your GFA updates. The unit sizes you can give definitions. If I'm running unit sizes, I can give, as let's say my minimum size should be 0 to 60, and then I need from 60 to 80, and I can give 80 to 90, and then 90 to 120, and anything above it automatically captures. Potentially, you should be able to create a new unit size and more sizes. Okay. And give you more.
I'm asking for someone who they have a question, but they deleted their comment. Okay. It was asking, have you placed the trees on podiums or only on the ground?
Okay. Somebody can help me answer. I really want to. They would have announced the feature if they did it, but I don't think. No, see, it was the point of the announced straight. Even though I take this point in there, but okay, we'll get stuck in this right over. Yeah, of course. Yeah. See, hello? Seriously? No, wait, this is it's kind of about they are showing us the feature. Maybe we'll be tough on that. Okay. Come on, you don't get stuck in here. Okay. Getting start of this one so but it's picking the point that externals of okay. Yeah, if it's a bug, it's still a great bug. We will have diagnosed later. We can. Otherwise, there's a big so we are done with the analysis. So there is this 8 analysis right now, and the extension is what we will go into. So let's look at Dynamo, Rhino, some of the configurators. So this is all out of the box. Okay, the Forma's usage is 1 of 10x since it's launched. So we have more than 200 over architects using worldwide. Only for the out of the box features itself, you can start leveraging on them. Okay. All right. Of course, it is a web-based platform, so if your browser settings are going to impact the softwares, the way. Okay. Good. Let's go to the PPT. straight to Rhino plus Forma. Sending proposal to Revit. Maybe sending proposal to Revit is something which you can see now. Okay. So this is Forma, and then we can send this data to Revit straight away. Okay. So that's your form, and this is Revit, and of course through your direct plugin from Forma, you can directly show the data to. Let me show where that is. Let's say this proposal. I'm just going to go to a smaller proposal. Let's see whether it opens in the. Okay. So it's a smaller proposal. Let's go to this. Here. No, this one. So these three dots, and you can send this to Revit. Okay. You have to download the Revit add-in. It works with 2023 Revit and 2024 Revit, and you can send the data to Revit. You can also export as an IFC and as an OBJ file. Let's just go here again. Send to Revit. And it should. So proposal already has been sent to Revit. If you open it there again, you should be able to find it. I'm just going to open Revit for a while. Or happen in which file family? Yeah, it's an OBJ file. So you can see this OBJ file. Not OBJ.
Are we able to select picked up export?
But probably we can use the hide and layers to work with it. Or maybe we just have to use the API later to just choose the regions we want.
Like we already chosen, we've lost that. It's actually some.
Yeah, I understand completely. So you should be able to choose a particular building and only export that out to the big bunch of buildings. I don't think it doesn't allow to choose, but we can look into that. That is a good use case, by the way. It's exactly what we would want is to think of all the use cases to come up with which we can enhance through API. Right? And the good thing is that within Revit, you will have a chance to define walls, floors, and materials for walls and floors. So every surface in Forma gets exported as a Revit wall, right? So what wall structure you would want to export, you can define that. And every floor division will get exported as a floor. Just load the proposal. We're going to pause in here. There we go. So the wall itself will give you an option to select which assembly you would like to use. That's the building, and these are the floor types and the wall types. Directly start placing your spaces, rooms, extracting drawings, 2D, 3D, send it to rendering engines and so on. One thing, the extensions over here in Forma can be found under the extensions tab. These are all the current extensions. If you fancy doing the AI rendering, I would suggest you look at Veris AI. It's by Evolve Lab. Evolve Lab is a very active participant in Veris development as well. And I don't think they charge more than like $30 or $40 for one user for you guys to use the Veras AI, right? And all the anything that you buy from them is on their website. However, they have decided to port their app on top of Forma, and we will see more companies. We have Snapcode. There is another company, TestFit also, Plexer, TestFit, ShapeDiver. ShapeDiver also is now ported on top of Forma. You'll see more and more companies porting on top of Forma because it's really getting treated as a platform. Because of the Revit interoperability, it makes sense for all the concept designers to use Forma and then push the data to Revit from Forma. And worldwide, I think just in Singapore we have 6,000 Revit users. So 2 million users today get access to Forma because they are all AC connections. That's why you will see more and more data getting populated. So the Revit add-ins, Rhino add-ins, the Shadows add-in, like the Dynamo add-ins, all are part of this, and you can start using them. So I want to add, check about, just check out, just agree with the policy and add that to the extensions. Once you add it, you should be able to see this here. You can see. Now you can sign in with your Veras ID and you can run your AI. To show you an example. So, to show an example. There is AI. Right? You can log in and all the Forma geometry in the background, it will be recognized in the AI render. And you can choose between different natures, different effects. And it was similar to Midjourney. I haven't used Midjourney, but Veras AI is also quite popular. So let's say you can define a specific area, use the large language model, say timber building, wow, change it to a timber. So within Veras AI, there is this LLM integration which is just type in what you want. Constraints modeling is something which I directly didn't show you, but it's embedded within Forma. We are building a checker potentially out of the box. It's not specific to any country, but it will highlight correlations beyond the constraint zone. Yeah? So the constraint zone is nothing but just a 3D modeling in Forma. So that could be one of your use cases if you want to sort of extract some kind of a rule definition. That's a constraint box. We'll have a quick look at how it can be created in it. Just pushing it forward. So that's the constraint box. You can model the simple constraint box. The extrude and all, just push pull. Constraint, you can also implement it. This way you can push back, that becomes your inclined constraint. Okay, and in future you will see this coming soon. Our team is working on it, and I think this year we will release the violation detection. Okay. Correct. And the area will be highlighted. Let's say you're only allowing a certain amount of area constraint. Anything extra beyond the constraint will be highlighted. 20,000 meters square is extra out of the constraint. minimum staircases for that gym and something. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a idea. Right now, the staircase is not considered as a block, or we can't define block expressions for staircase. Yeah. Like distance, right? Or travel distance. Yeah. So for that, it's not directly that, but definitely can be built.
The problem use of constraint right now, right? If I ask in the most layman term, is for your GFA, right? Once you're able to create that box, so regardless of the team works on it, as long as it's inside that, you don't have to worry that any changes to your design will violate the GFA, because one of the challenge that you had is complete one design, you send it to the customer, and they say, hey, I want to change that. Every time they make changes already, and go back and say, the changes that he made, is it going to violate the GFA? Then you have to go back to the government websites, calculate all the parameters again. Then this is a very painful process. So if you have this constraint box, so regardless of what changes, right, you can tell customer, sorry, the changes you want will violate the GFA. Right? And it will help you handle your customers' requests in a more data-driven way.
Right. So the next use case would be the use of Rhino and Forma. Okay, let's just look at that. So this has been the biggest highlight of Forma itself, because there's so many Rhino users around the world. So let's see whether there's another presentation we can do. So from here. Okay. So in general, the concept for the third-party ecosystem allows any software to actually integrate with Forma, because it's a open API. And we work on the AC data model, which is a neutral file format. As soon as you put your data on Forma, all formats neutralize. That's in the background we're using SVF, but that's something that takes almost all kinds of. So one of the key users is actually Nikhil Sagar, an architect. And if you would like to connect with them or see how they use it, feel free. The case study is on the web. You can find out how to use it. Now, first, the workflow for Rhino would be, of course, create a project in Rhino, bake the data in Rhino and push it across. As you can order the world data within Forma, prepare the site, analyze, compare, and show on. But you can. So the creation of the project, you don't have to see that, but you can prepare the data for Forma, right? Let's say you have a specific site. So again, I'm defining the plot boundary. Then I'm adding more geometries that I can bring in using your IFC object. You can see that you can bring in any OBJ or IFC that you have downloaded from any website, like TurboSquid. I can bring it on top of it. And you can actually now log in to the app and import this data into Rhino straight away. So you are now prepared. The next thing what we'll do after preparation is start designing. So I'm going to bring my site data. Sorry for that. So on the right hand side, you have the Forma app within Rhino. once you download this, Forma actually sits as this particular window. You can bring in the terrain, the buildings from Forma straight away. Yeah. Then I can start modeling in Rhino after by defining the site. Let's say Rhino, you know the view. You can just model in any shape, integrate grasshopper, it's up to you because now you're in the Rhino interface. Just doing is creating a model in Rhino to exchanging form. That's your Rhino box. And I'm just defining that as, so you look at the Forma functional layers on the top right. These layers are actually the Forma functions. So each block in Rhino can be a function in Forma. You can define which one. And then I can bring in the data from Forma and upload it. Just go back. So that's a simple block that we created in Rhino, and now we've got it in. Now, of course, you can perform an analysis. The block will work the same way, like other geometries. Now, I can look at commercial. So in this case, I'm going to make a cylinder a bit of a different form. We're just looking at two different geometry types, box and a cylinder. Then we're just going to repeat the floors. That's your building. Going as commercial uniform. Now, let's bake this and send it across to formats. I'm going to log the layers. Bottom floor, we're going to change it to retail. So you can see that I've changed the bottom 4 floors to retail. The above will be commercial. Okay. So all these changes then will be reflected in Forma Studio. Push the data now. This is all commercial. And the top can be anything else. Residential, right? Multiple stories. Add more information. Modeling part. Let's now bring the cells in. See this. Push it forward. Just going to push it forward. So this link today is actually a bidirectional link, right? You can see that automatically as I make changes in Dynamo and then just refresh the screen, it automatically changes in Forma. And I can run the analysis in Forma. I'm going to change the volume. Let's say I'm going to add another building in the link, right? See that it automatically gets added. So this is going to just improve, right? It's going to get faster. Any change I make, it's a direct connection. So how many of you use the direct twin motion or the N-scale live sync? It's going to work like live sync. So any change in Rhino instantly will update it. So we're working very close with the McNeil team. And now there's also Grasshopper integration. So here we're building, and same goes with Dynamo. I won't repeat this for Dynamo, but Dynamo is also dynamically integrated in Forma. Okay? So this was the biggest feature requested for last year, integration of Grasshopper in Forma by SOM and HOP Lights. And you can see that we have brought that in and we can already start leveraging on this information. Now there's a lot that you can do in Grasshopper itself, which will solve a lot of form function things. I wish to I think you can test it for yourself, but if you wish to run some sessions on this, I'm happy to conduct myself and so we can have that sessions if you want to have the time. The analysis will work on any kind of geometry, right? So there's a difference. When you're modeling, you can't model the NURBS curves, you can analyze them. The analysis is neutral, you just consider this. Now this thing we've already seen. Let's look at dynamic. So in general, this is the workflow that we are targeting at Autodesk, so we can address the full life cycle, right? And there is a bigger hidden agenda behind this is sustainability. Is that we want sustainability data to be captured right from the day one to the end of the, let's say, to the beginning of operations. There's a big data model right now that's happening. A lot of Singapore developers sitting in the One North office are working on this, the background, AEC data model, together with the US teams and the India teams. Our goal is, of course, to make sure that all of this uses a single common data environment, which is our Autodesk Construction Cloud and the Autodesk Platform Services. Let's focus on the planning and design part because we haven't moved Forma to build and operate it. But in the next, let's see Forma getting advanced in construction and operation phases. All that I'm going to skip. Explain this. Now, the Dynamo app can also be downloaded straight from Forma itself, and you can start using it within Dynamo. So let's look at how it works. Dynamo player. How many of you are familiar with the Dynamo player? You have it with the generative design. But Dynamo player, you have used Dynamo player. So we are actually using the Dynamo player to convert the nodes to actually just editable values in front when you start using Form from Dynamo. And any geometry from Dynamo is straight without any formats. And you can load the changes in the form of the Dynamo data actually. So, and vice versa. So I'm actually bringing the Forma data to Dynamo, which means I can shoot this individual building data. That's the answer to the question. If you want to take one building from Revit or from Forma, Revit, you just use this Dynamo extension to shoot on this. It straight away generates a Revit building. But there are nodes in Dynamo related to Forma buildings which you can use straight away. So like this one is a Forma element node. You can see here, existing building Forma element node within Dynamo. So you just pull the data from
And is that requires me to actually state that
okay.
don't know what should I do.
Okay. Maybe we can take it. Do we have some? We have a meeting coming up. Take it. Yes. We'll take it up. But we do have a format that needs to come in. No. Okay. So there are many things that are possible, but I'm going to run through this very quickly, just to so that you guys, all of this is okay. Blah, blah, blah. So many people do such kind of things. And of course, they're bringing in the OpenStreetMap data, the files that they're capturing. Now, from here, they're actually capturing the GIS coordinates of existing trees. Right? They're bringing them in Dynamo, and hence they're bringing the existing trees back to Form. That's a use case where you can actually look at existing site conditions, right? The flora and fauna around the site and bring the data from OpenStreetMap. The CSV file, right, is actually the line long for the X, Y, Z for the trees, each tree. But that data can be straight pushed into them. There are multiple use cases which you can run. So on the left, you can see this, right? Yeah. Also, anything in general, because it's just data that you're pulling, there's no limit because it's a computational environment. Because the generative design over here is working in Dynamo on top of it. That's another example, right? Use Dynamo or Grasshopper to create a facade which is like orienting towards a point at an angle, and you're making them rotatable panels, and these are all solar, right? So there is an AU class also on this one, on this university class. Later I'll share some links to that. You guys can go through yourself each of these classes as well. So, that's another use case of facade optimization and then using Forma to generate the total solar potential of the photovoltaic facade. This one I'm going to skip. Okay, some of the architects have also looked at, let's say, creating master planning at a larger scale, right? Optimizing neighborhoods and so on using some units. We'll just look at one such case. Right? So this is basically creating lot areas, and this was done through the use of API. Not something which is out of the box. You would have to sort of tweak the API for the generative design and come up with lot sizes. 100 to 200 meters square, 200 to 400. You can see here. That's another use case which you can see there. All these lot sizes are automatically understood, and then you can create these new formats. An API use case. So there is a house configurator that somebody has developed. Let's look at that. So this house configurator was developed using Dynamo, but within Forma itself, you can start pasting it in. So this Dynamo player has all these values in there. So if I pause this, zoom in, you can see that there's a value for main toilet width, main toilet depth, main bedroom width, main bedroom depth. Each and every room in the house, the person is actually given higher and lower values in terms of square meters, right? And he's creating a full house using the Dynamo configurator. Yeah. So the Dynamo configurator is not code based. It's node based. You don't need to code. You just have to use the nodes like you're using Grasshopper. Yeah. But what you see over here in front is actually the Dynamo player, which is just pulling the information from the Dynamo player. Yeah. Then I'm populating this information onto Form. Let's play this. So if I sort of give the positioning, the orientation of the house itself, automatically create a house for me, and you push that geometry form. So the configurators are actually running that form. I'm not using Revit or another format to do it. I'm just using the logic to create a house. Yeah, and that's the house. Change the room width or the maximum room size for the bedroom, our form is going to be different. So it's a set of rules that you can actually develop in Dynamo and run it on top of it. Multiple options can be generated. So now that's the house, and of course, you can start editing that in a 3D sketch. You take some and again, analysis will work. You can define it as a residential building. You can create anything you want, solidity, but this is function. And you can start running solar, sun, daylight, everything you can start running in the box so that you can identify the environmental factors and the design. The thing is that I can take that data and push it into Revit straight away. You can see that there is AI rendering. AI rendering, I can define what autumn, for example, or winter, or whatever, right? See, so many ways to use Forma. Yeah, that's some beautiful renderings using it. That is quite cool. Now, parallelly in Revit, you can start doing the documentation and fabrication. So people have sort of used it for multiple purposes. You can as well test it. So for the last part, we're going to look at some examples on how you can use the current Forma configurators. So this is one way that a company has actually designed some modules in Revit and used them to create multiple options and variations within Forma itself. Now there is an AU class on this one, and I would encourage you guys to actually look at that class. That class is called From Prototype to Platform, delivering. Copy this and paste it in the chat window, so please save it, right? At your own leisure. It's 1 hour, 30 minutes of the video. There is an explanation of the video that you can run through. If I refresh, the guy speaks in the background and he explains how it is done. Right? So you look at, I'm just going to take it a little bit forward to show you directly. So that's the approach. That's the Dynamo configuration using different options. But then, so these are different house types within Revit. And now those modules are actually one unit which you can use it as a configurator within Form. Yeah, they're actually Dynamo routines that are picking the Revit module and sending it to Form. Coding is involved here, JavaScripting. Now this is exactly the configurator. You're placing these units in different configurations and the outputs from them. So that's the unit catalog in Revit. Okay, design samples and massing designs. That's it. Just want to show you live. Just take it forward. Yeah. So here it's just running in the background. They're just adding some values in there and it's giving the different configurations. Good thing is you can use your configuration. So we are using the generator API as well as the embedded view API within Forma, right? And in this case, we are not doing any, we are not actually scripting using Python or C#. We are this approach, because in this case, they didn't want to host the data on the cloud, so they actually ran it through HTTPs. Configurators were actually on their own. So to start with the first, they began by Revit unit catalog. So they created a catalog in the Revit unit. That's the Revit unit catalog left. And mastering design prototype is also the configurator that's hosted on the HTTP. And they're using the Forma generator to generate options. Forward, this is the actual demo. Okay. So let's say these are the units which are already placed. Now I can use that extension. So you can see that this is the extension. The extension is named Factory OS Style Based Modeling. Okay. And somebody created that extension for their own office. So I'm defining the line, which is the building habits. Now I'm changing the values here. For example, the unit type, the number of floors, actually starts changing your Forma zone. Now these are actually Revit modules which are fabricated. Okay, so that's exactly the advantage of having this Forma integrated with Revit. Is again for analysis or any other. So you can change different configurators like mix and match the type of units. Line, you can see that the shape geometry changes as well. So the building type, the form will move as well. It's a great development what the team did. The project feels they actually have built this project in
Well, I mean, you're showing the possibility of what you can do on top of Forma.
Yes.
Because to be honest, right, this has a huge relevance to HTV, right?
Yeah.
If you're taking on a project and suddenly HTV owner and tell you, how about adding one more study room in the 3-bedroom unit, right? And then what it means to architect is that you have to redesign everything.
Yeah.
But if you automate it in this way, you are not able to engage the owner in a different kind of conversations. Instead of having to redraw everything again, because after you redraw and rebuild everything, you have to run it through all the compliance check, right? Yeah.
That's the configurator, the DFMA to check. And of course, analysis and all is a given. But now, okay, so you guys actually can read the whole data, the story. There's a 62-page presentation. There's a handout. Please go through this at your own leisure and see where you would like to sort of open it. Okay. Now going to the Forma API itself, yeah, you can access the API, right? By just actually, if you just type in Forma API, it will immediately pop up as this Forma APIs. By the way, I'm going to copy paste this link here for you guys to study. Okay, so from the API itself, you can launch the free trial for the Autodesk platform services, and that can be accessed here. Then you can go to the documentation of the API. There's more documentation on GitHub, but you'll find most of the procedures and tutorials on this website. So here we have the overview, extension types, right? There are 3 types of extensions that you can build under 3 categories, which is embedded views, generators, and data providers. Data providers is again connecting with SLA and And then we can run through each one of these through an introduction. So what are the things that you can do with embedded views API, right? You can interact with the 3D scene, fetch the geometry and the project data, access the analysis results and area metrics. So actually you can export it out. If you can access it, you can shoot it as a CSV. Yeah. So the embedded views API is quite strong. Storing new data to Forma's element, editing proposals, invoking your own endpoint services, and the SDK documentation can be also found. And then you can see some examples where you can place your own extensions on the left, right, or in floating panel, right, on Forma. These are some explanations on where it can be used. Now there is a tutorial for you to try. Each one of you can try this tutorial. Now this tutorial is simple, the Hello World extension, which actually allows you to select the geometry and change the color of the geometry. So it's the simplest example that you can test for yourself to kickstart. Yeah? So here there's a explanation of how you can do that. You can start here. There is a tutorial on that.
Just run through the and because
Yeah, almost.
yeah.
So I think this is the place where you will be finding that APIs. And now, as a next step, what we could do is each one of us that has joined the meeting today can come up with problems. The objective of today was also to sort of understand what are the use cases or problem statements you can come up with. But using all that you saw today, what kind of API? Maybe you want to take it.
Yeah. So on top of that, right, if you're really interested in this, right, you could also access the Forma developer forum. You can fire any questions, or actually the first thing I'll do is that you have an idea, right? You maybe search for the idea within the forum and see if someone else has actually walked through that, and that would be easy. And so far, our developer in the Europe are quite responsive. So you fire something in the morning around 3, 4 o'clock, you wake up, and they respond pretty quickly, yeah, pretty quickly. That's my experience so far. So first thing first is go to the forum and check if the idea that you have, whether someone else has already tried to implement it or not. If not, then you can raise the question there and say, hey, I would like to do something like this. How is it possible? And then the developer team will come back to tell you whether it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, 12 teams, right? So, on. So, it's like 12 teams. Maybe moving forward, right? But any questions? If there's no such a topic in the forum, fine.
Yeah. And if as a follow-up, you should also come up with a list of these domains and say what are the particular use case one, use case two, use case three, then list them down.
We have that three.
Then we can choose the top three or the top five, which is relevant to everyone. And going forward, I think we are planning to conduct as well. We are planning.
Yeah, we will see how many of the team is interested, take this further, and then we can explore how we can better support it. But right now, regardless of the hackathon, as an architect, we want to do something. I maybe have one idea. Just run it through here and see if someone else might say, hey, your problem that you want here might have solved it. Yeah. So we are pretty responsive because Forma is not like the traditional desktop application. It's actually run in the agile method, which means that every 3 months or so, we actually launch new features. So since May 2023 until now, right, the features that we are creating and launching the Forma is increasing. Yeah, so sometimes we are even outdated ourselves because the problem actually is saying, oh, we actually created more things like the tree just now. Like.
Lastly, Excel, we wanted to do the Excel, but I think the content is so much to show that it's impossible to come up with that. However, we would encourage what you would like to achieve with the out-of-the-box features. including just the current Forma version, Dynamo integration, the three kinds of APIs which you can use to gain specific access to the data in Forma. Right? So yeah, looking forward to the next step and how we can identify some use cases. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Question, no question, I think.
People, maybe
So, to all those online, thank you. I think we lost 50%. So,
yeah, that's 23. We had it. So,
we are still having a series of events. I think this week, Wednesday, Thursday, there are some events. Hopefully, it will not be that long, but next Monday, we have also Architect. So the following Monday, yeah, next, yeah. So, yeah, he was an architect also. Yeah, and he also working in MAS. And I think next week, Monday, we have the second group session where the group can come together to actually work on the problems and solutions. And I think, as usual, this event is free for all. So you can share to all your friends that, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, so, thank you so much for being here. And let's welcome and let's for the guests and the students. Thank you. You should have to take three.
we'll share the slides and all with people, and then an email you will send out. Right? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I think that it's share this session. There's some
Thanks, Sagar.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes.